I'll start the meeting. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Nikawa, Sotu, Silke, Pene, Kene, and Dene, and Dakota Sioux, and the Métis. We honor and acknowledge the land of the elders and youth which we gathered here for ancestors who gathered here for centuries. And with that said, I will call for adoption of the agenda. Oh, Councillor Bevins.
Thank you, so.
Okay, thank you. Are we voting electronically or by hand?
Mr. Chair, by hand, please.
By hand. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. And I'm looking for an adoption of the agenda April 9th, 2024, Committee of the Whole. I'm moving the minutes, yes. No, I'm adopting, yes, moving the minutes, thank you. Councillor Moore.
You have to activate his mic.
How the hell, his name's not coming. This one? Because it's not coming up. See, there's no name coming up.
I so move.
There you go. Okay. Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. All those in favor? Thank you. And
Speed keys, that's what we don't use. The one, the little body at the bottom is your speed key. That'll
Okay.
go to whoever's flashing.
Okay, got it, thanks. Okay, we did the adoption of previous and, oh, wait a minute, adoption of previous.
We have delegations.
That's what I thought. Okay. We're at delegations. STARS annual update presented by Glenda Ferdinand. Ferdinand, thank you very much. And could you please come up and then activate your mic?
Okay, hello. Yes, go ahead. I'm so happy. If you can't tell by my face, I'm so happy to see all of you in person. Again, bring you your annual update. There's been lots of new and exciting things at STAR, so we'll just get started if that's all right. I maybe should introduce myself again. I'm Glenda Farndon. I'm the Senior Municipal Relations Liaison for STARS. I've been having the pleasure of working with rural and urban councils across the entire province and into northeastern BC for the past 18 years now. So I really have enjoyed every minute working with your council as well. So next year, STARS is going to celebrate 40 years of serving Albertans. 40 years. And remaining as a charitable entity. So anyone that needs STARS has access to STARS. We also have, with the latest in technology, a brand new fleet, all these new wonderful things happening, newer, exciting medical equipment as well. We've changed our focus a little bit. Always been saving lives, but now we want to concentrate on providing critical care anywhere. So as an update on the financial side, previously we had a 10-year affiliation agreement in place with Alberta Health Services for 20% government funding. This 10-year agreement had expired in 2020, and we've been year to year since then. In 2022, Alberta Health Services moved to providing block funding of 50% of operational costs. So this is based on the average cost of a base in Alberta is $10 million per base. 3 bases in Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton, Grand Prairie. So $30 million per year operational costs. Does not include our Emergency Link Center located in Calgary, that is a dispatch center for all our 6 bases across Western Canada. It does not include outreach or education and training that we do internally and with our local fire departments as well. Does not include administration costs, so strictly operationally related. So they did top up in 2022 to $15 million block funding. We have received that again last year. This year is pending. We are in very high-level discussions with them, hoping to secure another 10-year long-term service agreement at this particular block funding. So more to come at the next update on how these negotiations are going. In the meantime, last year, we finalized our STARS lottery for this year. It usually nets $10 million per year. That pays for 1 base in Alberta. And we did just a little bit over hit that mark again. So we're very grateful to every Albertan who continues to stand by our side. This still leaves $18 million per year that must be fundraised. And of that, about 2.2 million right now is generated from annual municipal support collectively across the province, including into northeastern BC as a partner as well. So that really helps to offset what we still have to fundraise each year. The remaining comes from the corporate sector, from all of our long-standing community events, from service clubs, those kind of things. So that's where we stand for finances. Here is where we're at now for the municipal map across the province and into northeastern BC. Everywhere that you see appearing green is an annual municipal supporter of STARS. In this past year, we have added 8 more rural municipal counties or municipal districts. And we've just now confirmed, so we've now added 9 urban municipalities, like the town of Edson. We just got confirmation last week that the city of Brooks came on board as the very first city in southern Alberta. So it's really, you can see that we are very much uniting the entire province together, that everyone is doing a little something, and that's providing that extra sustainability. So the red boxes represent the 9 municipal leaders that we currently have. They are all represented on the helicopter. Their logos are on the helicopter. They have now moved to significant fixed rates of support that they are now including us in their emergency protective services budget each year. So we are a line item in their budget. The regional leaders, which include yourselves, town of Edson, as well as the town of Hinton, both of you are giving at a minimum or more, and both of you are a little bit higher than the $2 per capita rate, but the yellow boxes represent all that are giving at least a $2 per capita rate, ranging up to $90 per capita and everything in between. So there's a wide range there. The little stars represent where they are building regional partnerships within the county. So you and the town of Hinton are a regional partnership. We still do not have Yellowhead County on board, as you can see. But still hopeful. I'm going to be presenting to them in the next few weeks or so again. So I will be putting a request once again, hoping that they will join and help us to, unite the province. So that's where we stand with the municipalities. Here's a 5-year overview for the town of Edson and all missions, STARS missions flown within Yellowhead County over the last 5 years. There's been 2 missions to date this year up to March 31st of this year. So you can see overall throughout the county, we cover a lot of different areas of the county. The county itself averages on an annual average about 34 missions per year. In your area here, it's important to recognize that you are ideally located, that you're served by both Edmonton and Grand Prairie bases, both. So you kind of have dual coverage there. Edson in particular now, for your critical interfacility transfers, you have quite a busy hospital here, as well as several scene calls. So Edson itself specifically averages about 10 missions per year, so almost one every month. This can represent up to, depending on, there's a lot of mitigating factors on the cost of a mission. All depends on, what all entails with what the patient's needs are, whether or not there was a prolonged extrication, fuel, like all those different factors, how long the mission was. Sometimes it's average 90-minute mission. Many times when getting into the more remote rural areas, it can be 2 hours or more, so there's a lot of different factors there. But in an instance, like let's say here, for 10 missions per year, it can be anywhere from, say, $70,000 to $100,000 per year in mission-related costs only. So there is a great benefit to your residents with your partnership with STARS in being able to provide these critical interfacility transfers as well as answer to the scene calls. We're very fortunate that you have a really wonderful fire department here that our crews really love to work with. And they are the reason that we're able to be in your area. They provide that safety, and it's very much a team effort when we respond in order to save a life. So kudos to your fire department. So this is some new exciting information as well that I've been anxious to bring to you. Let's look on the left-hand side first. This is 10 years in the making. I'm being able to go back to 2010, access patient postal code only. No other patient information, so we couldn't access no addresses or anything, only their postal code. So the postal code where they lived at the time they were flown by STARS. So this gives you an idea. If you see the boundaries of Yellowhead County there, and then the blue dots represent all of those resident communities. Now this will also include rural residents that have possessed a postal code for one of these communities. So in total, 266 residents within Yellowhead County boundaries have been flown by STARS. 100 that possess an Edson postal code. But more interestingly enough is on the right-hand side. Now you again look at the blue outline of Yellowhead County boundaries. But there's quite a few red dots outside of the boundaries. These are all the areas where these 266 residents were at the time they were flown by STARS. 97 of them were picked up in Edson. 169 were flown from 38 other locations across 3 provinces. This is a testament to the value of our partnership for your residents. They have access to STARS wherever they may travel across the Western Prairie provinces where we have 6 bases. Another point there, when you're looking at the red dots outside of the boundaries, accidents and illness do not only happen because you're close to home. So STARS is more than rapid transport. Our emergency link center, they are integrated with every dispatch center and all resources across the province. They use precise GIS mapping coordinates in order to locate the patient. As well, we also, since we have been named the dedicated critical care provider for Alberta now, that we also dispatch Halo and Hero response out of southeastern BC and northeastern BC. They receive over 36,000 emergency requests each year that they help to coordinate response. Our STARS transport physicians are available 24/7, and they provide medical and procedural guidance on every critical call. So regardless of the mode of transport, that patient may be going by ground ambulance to the local hospital, by rotary wing, or by fixed wing, or a combination of those three resources. But it is our transport physicians that provide all the medical guidance and oversight, and they coordinate where the receiving hospital is, what is going to be needed for this patient. So while they are in the Emergency Link Center, while we are en route with the patient, the transport physicians are making the logistical arrangements with the receiving doctors and the receiving hospitals. So they're coordinating whether that patient may need a neurosurgeon or that cardiac cath lab or a mandatory CAT scanner for a possible stroke victim. This way, then, we're saving time on both ends of the mission. While we're en route, all this scheduling is being done. So once the patient arrives, they completely bypass emergency and can go directly into trauma surgery or whatever that patient is needing. We are also now, with the latest technology, we're providing virtual care. This is an extreme asset to local rural hospitals like Edson, where even if the helicopter may be out, let's say, on another mission, it does not leave your medical professionals, still needing and requiring some help. So they can go virtually and provide guidance, and they can provide procedural guidance as well. So it's another way that we are benefiting your community. Oh, there we go. So I had presented to you that we were having a new fleet. It is now complete. We have 10 H-145 helicopters. The campaign is completely done. Last year, we were able to incrementally sell off our previous BK-117 fleet. There was still a market for it. We've attributed all those funds to the more than $150 million capital campaign, and all 10 helicopters are paid for. So we are completely H-145 operational as well. And we also celebrated more than 20 years of having night vision goggle capability. 50% of our call volume is at night. So literally tens of thousands of patients since 2002, lives have been saved because we have that ability to fly at night. So I wanted to bring you an insight into some of the nuances of the new medical equipment as well. You can see the picture is worth 1,000 words. You can see that it's very much an airborne intensive care unit environment. So we'll start with the handheld iStat lab. Now you see it's just the size of a cell phone, but in less than 2 minutes with only a couple of drops of blood, our crew members can have hemoglobin, blood gases, and electrolyte results. These are all really important when our crews are managing multiple pain management drugs for a severe trauma patient. The Hamilton T1 ventilator. It's a fully featured ICU ventilator just like what you will find in the tertiary care centers, but this one is especially made for transport systems, very compact, and better yet, it accommodates all sizes of patients as well. Sometimes we get the call, we're not quite sure what size of patient we're going to be responding to. It's important to have all of the proper equipment. Universal blood. We are the very first helicopter EMS program in North America, more than 10 years ago, that brought life-saving universal blood on board. We have seen a lot of trauma cases now where we used to carry 2 units of universal blood. This is blood that can be accepted by any one of us. Now, because there's been so many trauma cases and some patients that have required more than 2 units of blood, and so we've now increased that we can carry up to 4 units of blood as well. This is very, very brand new, only as of the end of October, so only just a few months that it's a Canadian first that STARS now is carrying a new blood plan. It's for massive hemorrhage protocol. So we carry 2 different items to promote clotting and to reverse anticoagulation. So that way, then when you have a really severe trauma patient, rather than bleeding out, once they require more than 2 units of blood, we also administer this massive blood protocol. So I brought you a Horizons magazine that has a lot more information in it on that for your information. The video laryngoscope. Now you can see that our crews can view the trachea right on the screen. This is especially important when they're managing difficult airways for like a trauma patient, burn victim, maybe someone that's been crushed on impact. And it was widely used during the COVID years that, almost every patient had to be intubated. The Easy IO drill is only used in time-sensitive, life-threatening situations. It's a tiny little handheld drill where we can have immediate IV access. So they can drill into a shoulder bone or a thigh bone and have instantaneous IV access. Really important when you're trying to stabilize a very severe trauma patient. Handheld ultrasound. We previously had ultrasound, but it was a very big boxy unit, Now it's the size of a cell phone. It provides rapid test results for collapsed lungs, internal bleeding, heart abnormalities, and even fetal compromise in an ill or injured pregnant mother. So now, while we're en route in the air, we have these test results. With the way the new helicopters are equipped, they have Bluetooth, integrated Wi-Fi, and satellite connectivity. So now we can actually transmit these test results in real time to the receiving doctors so that they can expedite their treatment plan for that patient before they even arrive. We always carry all kinds of pain management drugs, including the thrombolytics for a query stroke, possible stroke. But we do have agreements with every single hospital across Western Canada that's on the stroke protocol. So then our transport physicians, once again, they can, while we're en route with the patient, they can contact the nearest hospital, alert them that we're en route with a stroke patient, so that patient can go directly in to be CAT scanned in order to determine whether or not we can apply the thrombolytic drugs. And of course, we are extremely proud of our crews and their expertise. There is an international air medical transport conference. It's a simulation competition. It's a very rigorous competition. This is worldwide. It brings together helicopter EMS programs from around the world, teams of 2 to compete against each other. So they must triage multiple patients utilizing the human patient simulator mannequins in the most inconceivable critical situations. They're graded on their decision-making, their timing, and of course the patient outcome. To give you an idea, this past year, late October, our team of 2, first of all, we always host our own internal competition to allow all of our teams from across the provinces to compete against each other, with only one team of 2 winning the honor of going to this international competition to represent STARS. So this year, the competition, or the scenario for our crew members, was that it was a head-on collision. The husband was ejected from the vehicle with a massive head trauma. The mother was still in the front seat, pregnant, and going into cardiac arrest. And the child was in the back seat, in the car seat, with a head trauma. So their team of 2 managing all of these critical situations, and the lights went out at the conference center. And our team had to continue to manage their patients in the dark, no different than if they were going to a scene call, right, for almost 2 hours. These are the type of things that are thrown at them, that they have to compete. We're very proud of our crew members. STARS has participated in this international competition for 21 years straight. And we have been top 3 in the world all 21 years. We have taken first place 7 times out of that 21 years. We are very proud to bring your residents the highest level of critical care available in Alberta. So in closing, I would just like to say thank you, Town of Edson. We thank you for your leadership, dedication, and your support. we thank you for moving to a fixed rate of support. You had increased. You're at a current pledge of support that is $17,500 per year. We are line item in your budget. We thank you very much for that because it provides us that sustainability, right? So we appreciate that standing motion more than you know. And many, many more that you saw on the green map are taking the lead and moving to a fixed rate of support and a standing motion so that we're not affected from the fluctuation that we see when it's per capita. And then there's census changes and things. It really does affect what's coming to us. When the mission rate is increasing, the fuel costs are increasing, the medical supply costs, it's never ending, right? So this type of support is so important. It's vital to us. So thank you. We appreciate that, our partnership is providing many benefits for your residents. On an average of 10 missions per year, just within your area for town of Edson, right? Throughout your area where your residents will travel, now we're over 30 missions per year. More importantly, our partnership provides no cost to the patient. We've maintained that for almost 40 years. We now are able to not only respond physically, but also virtually to help, be an asset to your medical professionals. Together, we are enhancing rural health care. That's so important. And we're building a robust health and safety network for all of us. So, we are averaging still 9 to 10 missions every day. A life is literally saved every day. But partnership has made it possible for almost 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda. Does council have any comments or questions for her? Okay, let's see if it'll work. Nope. Hang on.
Got it. Good? Yep, good.
Oh, are you live? Okay, go ahead.
Through the chair to
Councilor
Ms.
Moore?
Farden.
Yes.
How often over the years have patients or their families refused blood transfusions, and what would you do about that as a crew?
I don't have the statistics because, that's part of patient information. So, but I do know that it does happen sometimes, and of course then our crews would do whatever that they possibly can do in order to, number one, get that patient, to the tertiary care center. Also coordinating, we always have transport physician oversight. So also coordinating with that. Also saving time on the other end so that patient can go directly into where they need to be as soon as possible directly, right? So we're trying to mitigate how much time on both ends, right? Because time is precious, especially in a critical situation. So I don't have statistics for you because it is of patient information, but I do know that it happens. And of course we would, if the patient is able to be corresponding and communicating with us that is their wish, then yes. If they are not, then I would assume that we are doing whatever is possible to save their life because they are not able to communicate that to us.
Do we have any other? Councillor Bevins. I think you're on now, right? Nope.
Hit the bottom person.
The bottom, okay.
No.
Yes.
I'll probably forget the question.
There you go. Go ahead. So we have
Through the chair.
deputy.
You ever have any problem staffing your helicopters, your nurses and doctors and that, or do you have a good pool you can always draw from?
Well, that's a very good question. We have had some challenges, much recently, because there is a shortage of nurses and paramedics for sure. We do share, some of our nurses and paramedics are also part-time with Alberta Health Services at, a lot of the different hospitals. We have always been blessed to have many long-term crew members. So pilots as well as medical. But it's now, since we have, we crossed 38 years this year of serving Albertans, and many of those are like 35, 36-year veterans, right? So they're retiring. So that has caused some challenges too. We have very loyal, dedicated crew members, though. We have a pool crew, like pool pilots and pool nurses and paramedics that say we'll go to different bases and stay for a week in order to fill shifts. And so, we have a crew house in Grand Prairie, like a condo that actually houses them, so we can save on costs. We purchased it right from the very beginning of the Grand Prairie base to help us to save on travel costs and things. So that's been very beneficial over the last 18 years that we've continued to keep that model. We're very fortunate, though, that most of our crew members, we do require a very high-level degree of expertise before we even put them through STARS Academy and all the other paces before they were actually a full-fledged crew member. But because we are of critical nature, we are critical care, right? It offers for the medical side of people that there is a desire there, over and above just broken arms and flu symptoms and whatever. Like it's, and so we have that opportunity to really retain our people. On the pilot side of things, that's also been a challenge, but we're very fortunate that the majority of all our pilots are ex-military. So they already had night vision goggle capability. They've had all their years of service in. They just want a family life now, and we can offer that because we offer a regular schedule. And they don't have to be going other parts of the world anymore. They can have a family life. So that's the ways that we can kind of, still have something to offer that's of value. And if you ask any of the crew members, they are always going to tell you that being a part of STARS and being a part of life-saving mission every day fills their bucket. I think that's why there's so many of us that just stay. Like, we're just, it's, for me, myself, it's my passion. I've been here 18 years. They're going to have to drag me out. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if we can make this work. Councillor Taylor, I think I have you live.
Through the chair to Glenda, thank you for your presentation, and I'll just say, I'm hugely supportive of the standing motion that we have in place, and thankful that our council is supportive of this. Obviously disappointing when when you see some municipalities, and of course close to us, and you mentioned Yellowhead County not participating. So how do you approach those municipalities that don't participate with the standing funding or the funding that other municipalities, most of the province do? How do you approach those in your presentation, and get them to see the benefits that I'd say 90+% of the municipalities support this project? So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate the question. Number one is that I'm bringing information that's valuable to every one of your residents. There's value in what we are providing, and we're providing that because we have partnership. We've remained a charity. You cannot do that for this many years and not have any cost to the patient as well without every single one, every individual, every single partnership that we have. So you just have to be hopeful that they can see the value as well, right? And the other thing is, don't give up. I've been asking some of them for 10 years, and last year we acquired 17 more. So, thank you.
Okay, I believe all of council. Once again, thank you. I appreciate you coming here for all these years, and keep up the good work. And your presentation was great. A lot of good information. If you'd like to stay and join, but if we understand you have to drive back to Edmonton, by all means. And we look forward to next year, 40th anniversary, returning for your presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time very much. I did bring you calendar for your office, and then this has more information about that massive blood protocol. And then please pass this on to your wonderful fire department, because we love them. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to see all of you.
Okay, up next, there's no executive office, but we do have a presentation, infrastructure and operation, backflow preventer update by Darren Briscoe, and utilities managers, and Colin Truman from Truman Plumbing and Gas Fitting. Have a good night, Glenda.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council. Back in 2023, we were fortunate enough to have council endorse a backflow prevention program. That was basically in response to 2022 floods. We had about 22 homes that were flooded. So one of the ways we thought that we could try to mitigate some of the future risk was to help the residents out by putting in a program in place where we were able to fund basically 50% of the cost for them to put in backflow preventers. Out of those 22 homes, we had 9 that were took advantage of the program. Now, not all of those 22 homes took advantage of those 9 people. Some were, a couple of them, there were other homes that were basically just worried that they didn't have a backflow preventer and they could have future floods, that kind of stuff. Fast forward to our floods back in 2023. We had a fairly substantial rainfall that's seen approximately 90 homes flooded. Of those 90 homes, as we were getting ready for basically the bins and what to do for the homeowners, we kind of had a short little questionnaire that came out with that. Some of the questions we asked were, do you have a backflow prevention device in your house? Do you have a sump pump? Was it sewage that came up? Was it water? Just ask some basic questions. Some of the things we found from that was a lot of people didn't know if they had sumps. They didn't know they had backflow preventers. They didn't know a whole lot about their plumbing systems. So that kind of, and also just after that, we had about 23 of those people that applied for the program to try to do some type of mitigation. So that also, what it taught us is a couple different things going, okay, we need to look a little bit further to find out what's really the root cause of the homes. Is it, did they have backflow preventers really? How was it tied into the system? What was it? So we started doing some investigations. So we put out a request for quotations. Mr. Truman from Truman Plumbing and Heating, or Plumbing and Gas Fitting, was the successful proponent, and he was able to get into, can't remember how many houses it was that.
39, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think 46 approximately consented to an inspection. And he had a form that he filled out, did a camera inspection. The whole idea was that to find out what exactly did they have and get it to the root cause of some of the issues. So with that, we just have a quick little video that we're going to play for you. And then we've got a couple scenarios of what Mr. Truman had found in from that. And then we will kind of turn it over to him to explain what he found on those 46 inspections and just a little bit more if you have any questions and that kind of stuff. Let's see if we can figure that out. Where are we at? Okay, so I should be able to just click on it.
Piping tiles, also known as foundation drains, are pipes that run along the outside of the home's foundation. They are designed to collect rainwater and direct it away from the home, thereby preventing infiltration flooding to the property. One very effective flood reduction measure is to disconnect the weeping tile to prevent weeping tile drainage from going into the city sewer system. This is especially important if the home is serviced by a combined sewer, or if the weeping tiles are connected to your sanitary lateral. Weeping tile disconnection requires the installation of a sump pit and sump pump. The sump pump system is designed solely to manage foundation water and is not designed for any other purpose. The sump pit collects water taken from the foundation drains, and the actual sump pump will then pump that water outside of the home onto the surface of the lot, away from the foundation if done properly. If you are getting a backwater valve installed and have weeping tiles that are connected to the sanitary or combined sewer system in any way, they must be disconnected and directed towards the sump pit.
And then just a quick little sketch, and I'll get Mr. Truman to explain some of
Do I get a
the
mouse?
observations.
Oh, I get a mouse.
You get a mouse too.
So what I found was the houses that did have a backflow preventer, which is this one, right?
Yes, and then
Yes.
it shows
They,
the.
they did have a backflow preventer, but where'd my mouse go? Right there. But the weeping tile is still connected. What happened when the combination sewer was full, or the city sewer was full, the rain did not stop. So the water had nowhere else to go but to fill out the basement of the house through cracks and infiltration. So what I found was having just a check valve or just a sump basically did nothing. It's my belief that both is necessary to prevent.
Did you want the third one, or you want to explain the sketch A first?
I think that explains it, doesn't it? Or
Yeah, and then we have the final sketch, which shows the.
so this one would have a check valve and with a separate pump and a separate pit for the weeping tile to deal with the groundwater and completely disconnect groundwater from the sanitary sewer was the best case scenario. I did not see a single house out of all of the ones that I inspected that had this system. And it's my belief that it worked. That's why knowing, if that makes sense, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess just to elaborate on a little bit on Mr. Truman, one of the things that we've kind of found is up till 1997, the common practice was to tie in the weeping tile directly into the sanitary system. So basically anything pre-1997 has the opportunity where the weeping tiles can be directly to the sanitary sewer. And like Mr. Truman was explained to you, if you have the backflow preventer and there's backup within our main system, it's got that valve closed, and the weeping tile water will now still continue to drain in through your foundation or through your drains in your house. So you may not get sewer, but you'll still get water and foundation, which is obviously not good for your wood basements and that kind of stuff. So part of the 2024 budget request that we have in there, we'd like to continue on with the backflow prevention program, but we'd also like to add the addition of sumps as part of that compensation, or the 50% that we will pay back, so that we can actually start to address the issue that Mr. Truman has found in there, which is a lot of it ground infiltration and getting that water out of the sanitary sewers into the sumps and putting that out to the discharge outside of the property or out to the front lot. Any questions for us or anything we need to elaborate on, or?
Okay, if you're done with your presentation, then questions from council. Let's see if I can get the mayor hooked up here. Hang on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the work you did on this. Information is key in order to trying to solve this problem in our community, and having this information, I think, is completely valuable to us. My question is to Mr. Barisco, do you think I think we have $50,000 allocated to this program. Do you think that's a sufficient budget amount to include sump pumps as well in this program?
Through the chair to Mr. Mayor, I was actually pleasantly surprised. In doing the program, a lot of the bills were anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 to install just a backflow preventer. So I was kind of expecting a little bit more, maybe more finished basements. I guess I'll go back to Mr. Truman on what the cost would be approximately to add a sump compared to the backflow prevention program. And if you feel that if we're doing close to, 30 plus per year, if that would be within budget.
I believe that would be enough for a start. I think with a sump as well as the check valve, as long as they're in the same location, it's not that much more work to add that additional work. One at a time is definitely at that 3,000 each, but both together would be, say, a third more.
Mr. Kitlitz has a comment.
Sorry, I just wanted to
Go ahead,
also,
Mr.
speaking to
Kitlitz.
that point through the chair. I don't think it was fully subscribed for 2 years either, right? Like we didn't spend the full budget amount
Spent
either.
about 23,000.
We were at 23,000 of
Yeah.
the 50,000 is what we had spent, so we had 9 and then the 23, so out of that 30 people that went through the program, we basically have spent roughly 50% of the budget.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the chair to administration and council. I'm supportive of keeping the program as well. This is our commitment to assisting residents in any way we can. We, of course, are doing what we can on our end, the millions of dollars that we're spending on the storm systems and that sort of thing. But of course, we all can't do that at once. So, $50,000 a year to help our residents, I think is necessary. Adding the sump pumps is a great idea. I will also say, if we do end up getting lots of people subscribing to this program and we end up hitting that 50,000, I would ask that administration come back to council. And if we have to do any adjustments or whatever to the budget, because if people are really enjoying the program, want to take part in it, I would rather see them do that than to deal with a flooded basement. I would much rather see that. I don't know about adding it right now, but if we need to come back, then I would say that. And we're spending about 50% on each resident. And if say 3,000, that's 1,500 to the resident. I would wonder about assisting more to those that really either can't afford it, or if their insurance is, insurance just won't cover any flood damage. And if there's a way, and again, this is difficult to track, but if you had information from the tax clinic that we do, if there's, if they're residents using the tax clinic, then they are, beneath a certain tax bracket in terms of using that, then perhaps, we could fund 75, even to 100% of that program if that's something. And again, if it prevents a flooded basement, that's a good thing, right? And I guess I do struggle, again, I'm maybe not a plumber, I'm very much a layman when it comes to these types of things. When we talk about the weeping tile, and about any perhaps repair work, because you mentioned about the weeping tile tied, pre-1997, tied into perhaps where it shouldn't be tied in. Is that where I'm understanding that?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, yes, correct. So basically how they used to do is just weeping tile is just a plastic perforated pipe that runs around. And typically in some homes, it just goes in through underneath your foundation, it goes into a sump pit.
Okay.
On how they used to install it, they basically just tied it into the main sanitary line running in through your house.
Okay.
So it's just all the water would be collected into your main sanitary pipe, and then from that point would drain out to the storm sewer, or to the sanitary sewer.
But if the sanitary system is overflowing, essentially it's going to flood back into
Correct.
your home.
And if you have a backflow prevention device on, and if it shows, I'll kind of use the mouse from here. Yeah, so basically what it's kind of showing on this one is here's how it would be. So let's just say this is your main sewer going line, your main sewer line. If you install a check valve right from here, this is your weeping tile, and it also has a check valve so that the water can't go backwards out of it, because in the worst case scenarios, you might have sanitary sewer that could go back up around your foundation. You don't want that. So typically they had some type of prevention device that only allows the groundwater to go in.
Okay.
So what would happen is, let's just say if this one happened to be closed because the pressure from the city sewer is coming into your house, it would close this valve here.
Right.
Now, if this valve is closed, all of the weeping tile around your house is still collecting water. That water is now going up and it's going onto the homeowner's side of that back valve that's closed. So what's happening now is that water has nowhere to go except for through your floor drains, because your floor drains and everything else now are up there. It could go through a basement shower, could go through a basement toilet, tub, whatever else from there. Now, if for some reason, let's just say if this was ever seized or blocked off, it's gonna build up in your foundation, could come in a window well, it could come in a crack in a foundation, it could come in from any location. The water's gonna find a way. We already know we're not gonna win that war. It'll show us who's boss.
Can I add something to your somewhat of a question about the budget? After being in all of the homes that I was contracted to go into, I found a very, very high percentage of the people simply did not know at all what they had. I would suggest maybe making a program available to people including the ones that did not flood, to let them know if they do or don't have the items that should be installed.
And through the chair to Colin, I had that note right here. Adding into this an education program. We can say, look, we get a backflow prevention program. We offer these things, but people may say, I don't know what that is, and they won't be asking, and they don't know what they have. And whether it's videos or diagrams that we can showcase and help to showcase through communications, is again, people taking advantage of it and realizing, this is what could happen if you don't have these things installed. So please, we can assess these things or help you assess them and put them on the right track. So thank you.
Okay, let's see. Councillor Persicny, we'll try to get you up.
Thank you through the chair to Mr. Briscoe. Would this program apply to anybody who has the system, or does it just apply to those who've been flooded?
Through the chair to Councillor Pasicny, it would apply to anybody. So even if you were a business owner within town and had a disconnected sump, one of the, great stories that we had for last year was the Moose Creek Hotel. Typically, for the last few years, they've had a few issues where they flooded. Mr. Truman went in there, disconnected his sump from the sanitary sewer. And when we had the big July floods, that was the first time in quite a few years that he didn't have any backups in his business and establishment. So that to us was a big eye opener, that we know that by having the two, for what he was able to do. And obviously back then we weren't able to compensate him for the sump because that wasn't approved at that time. But we do know for sure, and as a fact, that Mr. Truman has confirmed that it did work and was accessible. But yes, the program's open to everybody, obviously within our municipal boundaries.
Councillor Chechka.
That's right.
Look at that.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Briscoe and Mr. Truman. Firstly, I wanted to just thank Mr. Truman for applying to our request for the quotes. Sometimes people say, why don't we use local contractors? And sometimes we don't get any local contractors actually applying. So thank you for submitting the quote. I'm sure it has been helpful to the residents as well, having a local person come in their home that, they're trusted in the community as well. I've got a couple questions. The I&I report that we had back in August with infiltration coming into our sanitary sewer system, do we think that maybe some of the weeping tile water that is been going into the sanitary system as it's not supposed to, as you've seen in the pre-1997 homes, do you think that could be a contributing factor to that infiltration in our sanitary system that we don't know where it's from?
Through the chair to Councillor Chechka, we believe it is a big issue that we have. We've done a lot of the dry weather flows through the sanitary modeling, which basically would mean that, what the normally would flow without rain events. Once we have a rain event, we do see a significant increase in flow. Some of the studies that we've done, especially by GHD, is seen anywhere upwards from 2.85 times the amount of flow in our sanitary sewers based on rain flow. What that tells us is that a lot of the roof leaders and weeping tile more than likely are a fairly significant cause. Now, obviously, we've got some weeping tile and other stuff in roads that usually go to the storm system, but due to the large volume that we're seeing in our sanitary sewer, we're fairly confident that a lot of that is, and especially based on some of the stuff that we've done with Mr. Truman and knowing the fact that our weeping tiles are connected, and when we have a rain event, it does show in our studies that we've been doing. So we're fairly confident that yes, there's a fairly high volume of INIs coming from the weeping tiles of the homes.
Okay, and my next question through the chair to Mr. Briscoe. So I'm glad that we found an educational piece, in addition to the weeping tile, also the storm, what are we calling it here? Geez, what's the word I'm looking for? No, the weeping tile, the sump pump, thank you. That you also investigated that as well. I'm also wondering about, because I know there's many homes in town that have the storm gutters coming off of their roof, and normally it would like flap out onto the lawn and it would just go into the grass and it would absorb and dissipate that way. Many of them go right into the ground mysteriously, and it's unknown where they go. Is there any thought about looking into those homes or those areas to see if all the rainwater that's going right off the roof are maybe also going into the weeping tile and also going out onto the, I'm being dramatic here, but that's, the rain on your roof is a big volume of water when you have a heavy rain event that, I know my neighbor had an issue and he was trying to calculate it himself, and, he's like, if this is happening, this is not good. So I'm just wondering if there's been an educational piece on that as well, if you've investigated that, or if we just haven't gotten there yet.
Through the chair to Councillor Chashka. To be honest with you, we literally just haven't got to that point yet. First of all, we wanted to find out what some of the root causes were, do that investigation. In fairness, some of those ones that do have the downspouts that are onto the ground, some I have seen that literally are just buried under a few feet, and then they come out at the sidewalk, and that's just due so that a lot of people don't want their lawns to be wet a whole lot. Other stuff does go straight down and still connect into the weeping tile. We're not sure. Obviously, something that we've learned from here, and depending on what type of programs we can come up and what the best course of action is possibly we might have to come back to council for some other type of program, whether it's education, and how's that program going to look. But obviously, it's something that as administration, we're going to have to come back and look at the big picture and go, okay, well, what do we need to do? How are we going to get there? What are the next steps? And do we need any funding to get to that point? And kind of, like I say, it's not going to be, we don't want to look at it as just a kind of a short term, how do we fix it now? We want to look at the long term and what do we need to set ourselves up for success for the future kind of thing.
Awesome, I appreciate that, thank you.
Oh, Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair to Darren. On your diagrams there, are you assuming everybody that has a sump pump in their basement? And if they don't, is that going to cost to put a sump pump in there, to dig the hole, put the pump in there, and everything else? Are we covering part of that cost of it? Because your basement will flood even if you don't have a sump pump in there, but you put your backflow preventers in there or a check valve, whatever you want to call it, your weeping tile could still back up into your house and that. So is that going to be part of what we're going to say we'd like to put, you kept saying you want to put a sump pump in and that, but by the time you dig it, case it, put a pump in there, it's going to cost a little bit more than I think we got that $50,000 for.
Through the chair to Councillor Bevan. Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. So we do believe that in order for this program to work, that at the same time that they're in there, they'll have to put a sump in. Because they're already in there and they're already digging up the concrete to put in the backflow preventer, to put in a sump at that stage of the game is relatively easy. It's about a third more of the cost. So when we looked at the 30 people that did it that have only used 50% of the budget, if we increase the cost by a third, we still should be technically under budget. Now, and obviously the majority of the people that flooded have taken care of the program that want to, so we don't see a significant increase at this point. But as Councillor Taylor said, if it does get to that point, then we can, we're more than comfortable to come back to council and go, you know what, this is an awesome program. Thank you for your support. We are now at the $50,000 and we've still got another 12 more in the queue. We need X amount to complain off the year, which would be an awesome problem to have. But right now, I think we can do it within the existing budget if it's approved on the 23rd.
Go ahead. So, cost of that is just putting the pump in to encase it. You're not going to put it outside wall out to the ground. Is it up to the homeowner to do that?
Through the chair to Councillor Bevan. No, that's all complete when a plumber or a certified plumber gets contracted. It's basically complete sump pump and the piping out to the outside of the foundation.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, let's see if we can get you, yeah, I
Yeah,
get it.
through the chair to, well, first off, council, as I said, I'm supportive of the education program and what that might look like. Whether, if you need council direction on that, you know, we can ask, but certainly the video that you showed or having access to sort of certified plumber to come out and just assess what they have in their home. That could be something, and just advertise it that way. But switching back to just the cost and covering the 50%. And I can't remember if we actually have a policy in place for this program, or we just sort of started it up and we just cover 50% of the cost. Is that right? Just understanding that?
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I think it was a program that council funded, and we set up a protocol and a procedure for it and an application form, but I don't think there's been an official policy adopted for it or anything like that.
So if we did wish to cover like more costs, I said if we use that tax clinic to understand if residents, you know, need a little more support, more than the 50%, is administration comfortable in terms of making those assessments, or is that something that council would need to sort of administrate on our end?
So, through you, Deputy Mayor Chenard, if I could, I guess what I'd suggest, and I appreciate the sort of position to really make sure this program is going to be inclusive, I guess is maybe the word I would use. But I guess my suggestion would be we've ran it for 2 years now. It hasn't been fully subscribed yet. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Briscoe, but I think the first 2 terms of this, it's been only available to those folks that were on our flood list. We're now going to open it up to the entire community. I would suggest that let's see how it goes. We'll continue to monitor it, continue to collect stats on it, and then we can, you know, maybe provide some recommendations for council to consider in a future budget. But I think right now we're pretty comfortable with the program, the way it's set up, and the funding we have, and we'd like to continue to keep trying it. And that'd be my suggestion.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we're gonna try to get you up.
Thank you very much. I'm really in support of an education program. Obviously, we have a lot of homes in this community that were built pre-1997, and all those homes combined create a lot of water in a rain event. So I think I'm very supportive of increasing the budget if we need to get as many people in this program as possible. Because if we spend $1 million on this program, that'd be awesome, because it's going to save us $40 million of stormwater work throughout the rest of the community. I certainly understand Councillor Taylor's point of trying to assist those that may need further assistance, but I don't want to overcomplicate this program. You know, I think coming to the table with 50% is significant. There's many communities that don't have these types of programs. Many communities don't have these kind of problems. So as soon as you start adding different mechanisms, it becomes a way more of a burden to administer. If there is a huge demand of people that may not be able to afford the program but want to get on it, I certainly would like to see some data to do that. At the end of the day, people are responsible for their own properties, and the municipality is already coming to the table with some assistance to that. So that's just my point of view. I want to see as many homes as possible in the least amount of administrative burden possible as well. So, but hugely supportive of education and seeing this program being very successful. And once again, thank you for all your work on this. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Persistny, we're gonna try and get you up.
Thank you to the chair. I'm not sure if our CFO is going to answer this or Mr. Kitlitz. So this program was funded in 2023 for $50,000. We've spent $23,800. So does that mean we only have just over $26,000 left to spend, or are we topping this up to $50,000 again? And before I let somebody else speak, I do echo the mayor's comments on not complicating the system. So.
Through your Deputy Mayor Chenard, I don't think we carried over the balance of the 2023 program. So basically what we're looking at is the operating budget's coming to council on the 23rd of April, includes another $50,000 line item just for 2024.
Okay, I guess it's finally my turn. The one question, and I think the question was asked because when you start digging down for a weeping tile and stuff, so that involves, we got to dig down to the foundation to do the connection? Was just an information one, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The next one that was on there, so did all the homes that flooded last year, did we relay this information to them? Because a lot of people said, hey, I had a backflow preventer valve and it was all bull, it didn't work. So if the information was relayed to them, it would be helpful for them. And since we're getting out information, are we going to have any information like this at the trade show booth? Maybe even if you're not there, but just have information for the public in case they ask.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'll try to remember all your questions.
I only had one.
Some of the stuff we can clarify.
Okay.
I'm sure I think the majority of the stuff we're going to be bringing to the trade show is going to be drought related. But I'm sure we could have something, or I'm sure we could have Mr. Beschi put something on our website. In response to kind of your other comment is, yes, everybody that when they registered for the flood program or for the floods that they had a flood, so that we could look at insurance and other things, they were very well aware of what the programs were. If we could get them to fill out the survey, and the whole idea was like, say, so we could get down to the root cause of our problems. So everybody that did flood, that did contact the town on that behalf was aware of the programs and was aware of filling out the forms and everything else from there.
Okay. Okay, thank you, guys. Does council have any more questions for them? If not, thank you for your presentation, all your work. It was a lot of great information. So thank you very much.
Leave if you want, or you can say it.
And then, okay, then, oh. So from flooding to saving water. Oh, wait till he's done. Okay, our next item, Water Conservation Program, presented by Clayton Kidlitz, General Manager, and you're up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm just going to get my presentation loaded up here on the theme of, where's my little thing? Right there. Thank you, Darren. See, look, you're better at this than I am already. Okay. So thank you. So yeah, we're going to continue the theme of water to this evening and talk a little bit about water conservation program that we'd like to share with council and get some input on. So what we're going to cover this evening is to talk a little bit about the drought status for the town of Edson. So obviously this all started with a letter from the minister that was challenging towns to be mindful of the conditions that are going to be experienced in 2024. So we'll start with a little bit of a review of that. We're going to talk about some operational conservation initiatives that we've talked about, and basically just talk about what operations use water. And then we're going to talk about some community conservation initiatives that we've been working on, and then education and communication is a big part of this, and we've already got some of that stuff prepared, but that'll be sort of an ongoing thing as we continue through the program. So as mentioned, we received a letter from Minister Scholes. I think there was no date on the letter, but I believe it was in the fall of 2023. A letter basically signaled that the province was in a stage 4 of drought watch, stage 5 being the worst. And within that letter, it sort of charged municipalities with doing some work to prepare. There was 4 items in there. The first one, initiate efforts to monitor water supply infrastructure proactively. This is something we do automatically. We are required under our license to monitor our water, I think every day, right? Correct? Yeah. So we're already monitoring, and we do that already. So we've already checked that box. The second one is also something we already do. We have a brand new license that was issued in 2021 with the province. And it tells us now that we can draw 1.5 million cubes of water a year from the aquifer, and at present we're drawing about 1 million. So we are on top of that. We understand our license and understand how much we can draw from our system. We have been collectively participating in the webinars and the information that the province has been out. We're actively keeping an eye on the drought webpage and the links to keep on top of what's going on with the province. So that is always ongoing, and we'll continue to do that and be prepared to react when called upon. And then finally, develop a water shortage plan for your municipality, prepared to respond to water availability and decrease as well. The good news is we're already on this one as well. This council, I believe, has seen previously, because of our current system, where we do have we don't meet peak demand during the summer months for our community. Therefore, we do have days during the summer where it's dry and our reservoir levels decrease, and this protocol has been put in place to manage those risks. So that's already established. I think I'm not quite sure how long it's been established for. Maybe Darren recalls. Is it 2 years? Okay, so yeah, ever since I've been here, it's been here, but I wasn't sure if it was brand new. So we've been using that for the last couple of years. I think so far it's been working. We haven't received a lot of feedback on it negatively or positively, but it is in place and it is well publicized, and we're using that right now. Just let me look at my notes here. So one of the things that we did upon receiving the minister's letters, we created what we call the Drought Task Force. It's made up of staff from Protective Services, Utilities, the Leisure Center, and Utilities Administration. Sorry, I guess Finance is what I should refer to it as. To start talking about how we can prepare for this. And really what happened as we sort of got into it, we really felt it was about water conservation. And the reason being is, as included in this briefing note, we've looked at what the province has shared in terms of the drought situation in Alberta, and we've also had our consultant Vizian do a bit of an assessment on our aquifer and our system. And it turns out that really Edson and the central part of Alberta isn't as much risk as the rest of the provinces. So as of right now, today, we're not really in a precarious situation here in Edson. But we still believe it's important, considering what's happening in the province, that conservation be a very important thing for us. So although drought isn't really our fear right now, specifically in the town of Edson, conservation is, we believe, to be paramount. So, operational conservation initiatives. So right now, I call them conservation initiatives, but I think what we're trying to do here is demonstrate and share what water we use for operations. So you'll note that it says untreated by the headings for the departments. What we're suggesting we do for municipal operations is not draw from potable treated water sources. We have a handful of wells throughout town that have been drilled, but are not in production at this point because of chemical levels aren't right, and we don't have the systems to treat that chemistry. So these are wells that are drilled, and we can attach and get licensing to draw water from them for operational purposes. So what we're suggesting, now keep in mind this is still drawing from the aquifer, so we still have to monitor it, but we aren't taking away from the potable water that's used by residents and business owners in town. So parks, the water that they use on a daily basis is for watering the flowers you see around town. Just a note on that, when we received the letter from the province, we had already ordered our flowers for the season. We ordered those, I think it's 6 months in advance, because it takes a long time for the producers to get those together and get them to us. So we couldn't delay, we couldn't return that order. It was already placed and en route before we knew about this. So they're coming. They'll be here shortly. But we hope to use untreated water for that. And as per our analysis, we use about 6 bathtubs of water a day to water the flowers. We use bathtubs because if we would have put it in liters, I don't think it would have been impactful for people, because I don't really translate liters into much myself. So we're using bathtubs as the measure to try to visualize it a bit more.
Is that a big tub or a small?
That is. It's a bathtub. And then Parks also uses water to clean their equipment after the daily use of the mowers and the weed eaters and all the equipment. They clean it up, and this is an important part of maintenance. So they use 4 bathtubs a day on average to do that. The roads department, obviously street sweeping, a very important service level in town. We have a contract with the province to do the highway, but as we also have our local roads. Both of our street sweepers use a different amount of water, but really they on a day they don't use as much water as people think. A full day of sweeping, and we're looking at about 10 bathtubs of water per day. And I should have had how many times we do it, but I can't recall that off the top of my head. Catch basins, it's important for us to continue to clear and clean our storm infrastructure, and so we have a program this summer to do that. And whenever we do that on a daily basis, it's about 35 bathtubs per day. So those are just some of the ideas and some of the things that we do with our water in those two departments. Oops, wrong mouse. Leisure center. Now in this case, the leisure center is using treated potable water, correct? Correct. Yeah. And so some of the things that they're going to try to do over this summer season is they typically daily will wash and hose down the entire pool deck. They're going to change that standard to just do spot cleaning where it's needed rather than just do the whole thing every day. Same kind of thing with the change rooms. They would do those 3 times a day, an entire hose down. They're going to try to do that in a bit more of a spot cleaning protocol. There's a shower on the deck of the pool that's used, the users use to shower off. It used to run quite a long time, so you could have a nice warm shower. Folks are going to have to get prepared to have a little less warm shower over the summer season because it won't be the timer has been reduced for that. There is obviously a large-scale pool maintenance plan for this year. Typically, it's a full drain. They're going to try to do it in the fall rather than in the hot summer months, and they're only going to try to do a half drain, and that's a lot of water, obviously. And then they'll continue to inspect and find leaks in their system and make sure those are repaired and taken care of to minimize the use of loss of water. Utilities department, again, they'll be looking for an untreated water source. Obviously continuing to flush our sanitary and storm mains to make sure that they're clear of debris and clean so that they have maximum capacity for our rain events. It's important. We're looking at 165 tubs a day for that on average. And that's from a manhole to manhole length. So 100 meters or so on average? 300 meters? 300 okay. Meters. And then the hydro flushing program. Now, and Darren can weigh in if I miss this, but I think we're obligated to touch every one of our 355 hydrants every year under our license, and that means to exercise them, turn them off and on. But we also like to flush them. That's about 150 bathtubs for flush. But I think you guys have a plan, or a modified plan to do that, so I don't know if you want to elaborate on how you would do that compared to what's typical.
Yeah, so typically we touch... Technology. Typically, we would touch every hydrant, and we would flush it for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to get some of the turbidity down. Now, obviously, with the fire code, we need to make sure that the fire hydrants are operational, so we will just flow some of those fire hydrants a little bit less. If they're on the same line, we might skip. We'll just open and close safely one hydrant, and we might, by the third hydrant, if it's on the same line, we'll run that one a little bit longer. Basically not as long as we would with all 3, so we can look at saving maybe a third of the water that we would normally use, or a fourth or a fifth depending on where the lines are. So if you look over those 335 hydrants, we could potentially save quite a few bathtubs of water.
Thanks, Darren. One area that we forgot to include in the briefing note, but I happened to catch Chief Milton this afternoon when he was by my office, is the fire department. Obviously, they use water for their training services. Chief Milton was more than okay with using the untreated source for those training operations, and obviously, if needed, they will find other activities to do to use less water if levels are down. So they are aware and on board. So before I moved on, I just wanted to share, it's not a lot about conservation. Really, the big thing we're doing is we're not taking from potable water sources for a lot of these operations, but wanted to just check in with council, knowing what's happening in the province. It may not necessarily be as impactful here in the town of Edson, but does council want to consider a reduction of any of these service levels now? Or if not now, is there a certain point where you think you would trigger that you'd like us to come up with, or maybe have in mind that we would like to consider some of those service levels being reduced? Just curious if how council feels about that.
Well, that was a loaded question. Councillor Chechka. I believe you're up. Nope, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I just lost you.
Is that me or Councillor Chechka?
You're on. Sorry.
So, thank you. Through the chair to administration. I'm not against any, I have 2 questions. One is, operationally, where do we get this untreated water from? And is that going to create some inefficiencies in production for staff? So where are they loading this water? Do they have to drive out to well 45 out on the Ansel Tower Road, and it takes us 2 hours of labor to get out there and fill the water? I'd like to know that answer. Second of all, I would hate for us to lower any of our cleaning standards of our pool. In worries of that, this letter came out probably prior to March snowfalls, which right now is higher than normal in some areas of the province. So I just don't want us to lower our pool's challenged enough. We don't need to lessen and not make it as clean as it was before. So I would like to see the water not to skimp out on the pool. And the fire department only gets summer to train with water, and it's important. So I thought I should throw that out there too.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna pass the first question over to Mr. Briscoe, because he knows more about their well locations than I do, so I'll hand that one off. Don't forget the mic.
Oh, yes. Through the Deputy Mayor to Councillor Besichny. We'd be looking at one's obviously some wells we have within town that well 29, which is over by Lambert's Pond, really high in fluoride. Obviously, fluoride being an MAC through the province, it's not something that we can put into distribution system. So that's the options we're looking at. Obviously, when we look at all these options, we're not looking at something that's going to cause operational inefficiency. So we're burning more fuel or more time. That's not an efficiency either, so we've kind of picked any of the locations that we can look at that are within town and within operational limits and make sense. Nothing that's down well 18 at the bottom of Ansel Tower is not practical for us.
Okay, I think,
Now, Councillor Chechka, you're up.
okay. Through the chair to Mr. Briscoe and Mr. Hitlitz, thank you for bringing some ideas forward. I think that's really great that we are being proactive about thinking about what we can do. And I will agree with Councillor Positioning about the cleaning of the pool. Last night at the Youth Council meeting, I was able to attend as Councillor Positioning was unable to. And we asked the Youth Council about water conservation methods. And, you know, they had some of their own ideas, some of which you've mentioned. And they said that lessening the cleaning of the change rooms would be disgusting. So they were not in favor of that. And I don't know how many bathtubs of water that uses, but it seems like it is the right amount of bathtub water at three times a day. So I just wanted to bring that forward from the youth perspective. So when you're talking about the reduction in service levels now, are you just specifically referring to the non-potable water options that you presented?
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. I think, yeah. So for example, let's say council said, well, let's say, I wish I remembered, I don't remember and I apologize. Let's say we sweep the streets once a month. Maybe council says, you know, well, let's do it to once every 2 months, right? So that could be a reduction of level of service, as an example, or some of the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we'd be looking for if we wanted to start looking at maybe reducing some of those levels of service.
Okay.
Less water.
Okay, I just wasn't sure what exactly you're specifically referring to there. I'm certainly not in favor of reducing our street sweeping. I think that's a priority for many people. I do have a question though. So with the flowers and using non-potable water, and you say maybe it's high in fluoride, is there any kind of risk that maybe the flowers don't like too much fluoride? I don't know. It totally depends on how much fluoride there is, but that would be just a concern that if it's too high in something that is not desirable by people, it may not be desirable by plants either. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. To your Deputy Mayor, I'm not 100% sure of that answer, to be honest. We'd have to look into that, but it's a great question. I think we also talked about maybe we could somehow try to catch for some of the water we use when we were flushing hydrants to try to recapture that to use for watering. We haven't figured out exactly how to do that logistically yet, but we have talked about ideas like that to try to conserve some other waters. But we'll make sure we ask that and try to find out. I don't know for sure. I don't know the chemistry of plant life enough.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, we're going to try and get you up.
Through the chair to administration, thank you for bringing this forward. And I echo what Councillor Chachka said about our youth council last night. They were very animated, and trust me, we heard lots of ideas. It was great. I love when they come up with the ideas. So we talk about, I guess, to answer the question, right now, it's hard to pull the trigger on reducing anything right now because it is maybe too early. I wonder in a month's time whether I'll regret saying that, right? So the triggers that we use, and I know we go back to the slide where we look at the sort of emergency triggers that we have. And that's when we sort of look at reducing. That can still be in place for right now. And I'd be happy with that for right now. And then I guess to obviously constantly reassessing, and if we see other areas in the province really get into dire straits, then we might have to make some crucial decisions here. Just, I guess, a question, as other areas in the province may become sort of in dire straits, or would they ever have to come to us in terms of looking for water or that sort of thing, or how is that a possibility that may happen, or we might be mandated to do that or something like that?
Through your deputy mayor, I'm not sure. Do you have an answer for that? Okay, I'll defer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Chenard. Through to Councillor Taylor, actually the mayor and I just recently attended the Municipal Leaders Caucus, and there was a whole session with regards to drought conservation. And because of the water agreements in place of those areas that are more impacted by this situation, they're already talking about sharing of water use as well in those areas. I would suggest that wouldn't be something that would be affected in the north area for us at this time. But that was the information that they're already well beyond working for plans with regards to this situation.
I'm on. All right. Can we book a training session on the microphone system? Thank you for your presentation. I'm comfortable with what we have in place right now. I certainly am concerned about what the summer will bring, but I think it's too early to really have a good idea until we see what happens in the next 3 to 4 weeks in terms of rainfall. Of course, we're concerned about fire as well. I'm not in favor of having less hygiene at the leisure center. And sometimes, if these levels get triggered that you have on our protocols here, then that's when the significant decisions need to be made. And I know our community has been very responsive, and they understand that we have production capability issues during the summer. Street sweeping, I'm full support of street sweeping until we get into those high alert areas. And then, sorry, that's a nice to have. People need drinking water before nice streets. But before that, I think we need to continue with our current service levels. We know the spray park is a huge consumer of water. It's also a very important amenity in the summertime. So reducing those hours and having it available during those hot hours in the evening, I think are critically important. If we have to not have it open earlier in the day, then so be it. And then if we do have to shut down the spray park, like what we did before, is ensuring the leisure center is open for anybody that needs to get out of the heat during those hot weather events as well. The flowers, we need to continue to water them. But once again, if we're in the middle of summer and we're short of water, flowers got to go. They're nice to haves as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think we really have to monitor it closely and then make some decisions if we do find ourselves in a situation. It was very clear through the presentation that CEO Beveridge and I attended just a few weeks ago. As you get further north, it's less of an issue. It's really something that's going to hugely impact southern Alberta. And hopefully we get some rain.
Councillor Taylor, I think I got you up. Nope. Try now.
Through the chair, when you, I echo what Councillor Position just said. When you pray for rain in Edson, just be careful of that. All right. Or a little bit of rain, enough, a sufficient amount of rain. So just responding to CO at Bedford's comments. So with that, I would say service levels remaining the same is fine for now. I don't know whether based on the slides you wanted to talk about the spray park now, or did you have further comments regarding that?
And my apologies, I didn't put up a slide version for that. It's in the briefing note, but I think the spray park was one of the most visible things at the service levels that comes up every year. So I apologize. I should have maybe addressed it in the slides, and I didn't. But yeah, you know what? I have it.
It's 300 bathtubs.
That's
a day,
a lot.
is
Yeah,
what the report
300 bathtubs a day.
So yeah, with the spray park hours, I mean, as a depending how. All right, may have done that. All right. As a parent of like young kids, there is nothing absolutely worse than it's the hottest day of the year and the spray park is closed. Like I get it. I understand why we do it. Please understand that. It's just it is a heartbreaking thing, and of course, then you're trying to conserve water at home and those types of things. In terms of the hours itself, I believe it's open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Am I correct on that? There is probably nothing wrong with reducing a little bit of those hours. You probably won't see that much reduction, whether it is 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. That 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. you don't see a lot in there. What you do see is people turning it on and standing there and watching it. Seriously, I've been down there at that time. Usually at that time, we've moved away from the spray park and now we're into the park because it's getting a little chilly out and those types of things. And people are just hanging out and just turning it on just for letting it sake to turn on. At 10 a.m. may not be also. Like, as a person who still has to follow his child into the spray park, it's cold, okay? All right? And at 10 a.m., it is really cold. So reducing those hours, again, you're probably not saving lots, but there's not a lot of participation happening at that time. The only other thing that you could do with regards to the spray park, if you ever wanted to reduce things, but still keep it on and maybe not close it completely, and I don't know if it's possible, but to turn half of it off. Right? It is programmable to do that. Yeah. So obviously you'll get a bunch of people on one side of the spray park, but then it's still on. You're perhaps using half the water, and it's still accessible to everyone if we ever had to come to that. And instead of just, reducing hours or closing it completely, getting to that point. So those are my comments with regards to the spray park.
CEO Beveridge, you had a comment?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. With regards to these water risk levels and actions, and I know this has been quite some time, but I was very much involved when we were creating this with our past engineer. And the spray park was a huge discussion. And so we wanted to be able to make sure that have education for residents to know when we were going to reduce. We came down to, a big discussion with regards to what was reasonable as far as what times. We were very careful with choosing the times to ensure that it made sense, the times that it was actually available for individuals to use the park. So what we'll do is I'll actually send you out that information following this session, just with regards to the hours, because essentially we wanted to ensure that it's not on the hours that we're essentially not being utilized and when it was a risk. So when we look through here and getting to those 25% alert warning, and then again moving to the medium, and then of course the high is that of course water for our residents is critically important. So I will share that with council following this this presentation, but this was a critical piece for us when we hit those high temperatures and we had them for extended periods of time. So and I know that we have made some adjustments with our spray park when we need to with regards to our valves, etc. So we did that last year even. So we're definitely, it's a key focus area for us in the summer. We want our residents utilizing this. It's a key component for our residents to have this option to cool off. And we don't have that many outdoor amenities in the summer, and it's one of those key focus. So we're very cognizant, and that's not the intention to really reduce. It's just a matter of if it becomes a very big serious situation.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chechka, we're going to get you up here. Wait.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration. I'm just looking at the water risk level action page, the one with all the colors. So a question that was asked last night by the youth counselors were, do we fine anybody if they're like not following the rules? And I didn't actually have an answer for that. So I'd be interested in hearing about that. But not that I want to create a tattle on your neighbor scenario either, because that's not building connected communities. So I was just curious about that. And I think the education piece is really important with this one as well. I think for a long time since I moved to town, we've had the odd even watering, and you know, I don't water my lawn because I'm way too cheap for that. But people do, and that's fine. But a lot of people just don't know that there's a thing about the odd and even system, which kind of surprised me because there's been an education piece on that, I think, for 15 years or more, maybe. So it's been a long time. Maybe, you know, can we get like a postcard of this out or something? I don't know, something that you can put on your fridge that's easy to refer to, so when you see the notifications and you're driving by the billboard thing that we set up, that you know, you can see that. I know it was in the utility bills, but they're big and I don't know. I don't know how to educate more on that without shoving it down people's throats.
Sure. To Deputy Mayor Chouinard. So the first question on enforcement, the answer is no, we cannot. So really, the truth is if somebody, a resident or business, was not following this risk protocol, we could politely ask them to, but there's no ability to enforce. The utilities bylaw that Darren and his team are working on, we'll probably bring something forward to contemplate that the council can take a look at. But yeah, but right now that answer is no. In terms of the education and communication, bear with us. The next part of the presentation, if council's done with the operational stuff, is the real exciting stuff, and that's why we brought Ms. Williams here, one of our utility operators who's been our champion on conservation, and I asked her to come because I don't get as excited as she does when she talks about this stuff, so it's much more impactful when she's talking about it. So yeah, by all means, I think that's some great ideas. And just before I go on too, the youth council is a great thing to hear, because maybe what we do is we engage them a bit more on this and have them participate a bit more, and there's maybe some education and initiatives we can work on with them jointly. So okay, understood. Okay, so
Thanks, Clayton. You embarrassed her, turned her red, but we're ready for her.
oh, right here. Okay. So, community conservation. So this is where we start going out to the community and this education and communications to talk about how we can do things differently. So, and this isn't going to be an exhaustive list. I think one of the things, these are some of the initial things we come up with. We're happy to hear more. We're happy to learn more. We're happy to bring more forward. But this is sort of a starters list that we come to so far. A water leak detection program. You know, council has had to hear from delegations of folks that have had leaks that have cost them quite a bit of money. We do have the ability to monitor. We can set up a program to monitor readings, right? Correct? Meter reads and find where there's anomalies and reach out to folks and say, hey, you potentially have a leak. Let's see if we can figure out how to fix that. Now, obviously, that's great because it conserves water. It also saves our residents money and us money for producing that water. So that's something we could look at doing. I think we've tried to do it in the past. It maybe didn't work out as well as we wanted, but we're certainly willing to try it again. Getting to our youth in the community. Kids are great ambassadors and can sometimes have heavy influence on their parents. And so we've talked about a coloring contest for the kids in the schools that they could work towards, and maybe have the award at Public Works Week, and there'd be prizes for those kids to collect. And part of it's educational as well. And then maybe some home conservation. Home, maybe that's not probably the right word the right way. There's all kinds of accessories that Ms. Williams has found about. I'm going to let her share those right away. And things that are great tips and great things that homeowners can install in their homes that are quite cost effective and can do a lot. And so maybe there's an incentive program that says if, you know, again, we would monitor if a certain amount of homes or property owners were reducing their water consumption by a certain percent, we could offer them prizes of some kind that are conservation related. So that's an idea. Lawn watering awareness, obviously we talked a little bit about that, the odd even, but there's also some timers and some education materials that talk about when to water your lawn and how much, and when to get the best effect is. So there's that. And then the other one, the big one that we're pretty excited about, is our upcycled rain barrels. So I don't know if maybe I'll Denise, if you're ready to talk about this stuff, I'm going to pass some of this over to you and let you take it away.
So I am super excited about developing a water conservation program for the town. I know that we might not be affected by the drought, but we always have a production issue, and it's such a great opportunity to engage in the residents and help them save money. So my first idea was because I was looking for a rain barrel, but they're like $150. So I asked we order chlorine all the time, and I asked if they had old barrels that they would sell us, and we got barrels for $5 a barrel, and I found spigots and screens for $5 each. So we're able to assemble barrels for $23.50 a barrel, so then we can pass that on to the residents and sell them maybe at our Public Works barbecue for cheap. So that was pretty exciting, and I really like that idea because everyone wants a couple. And partnering with Earth Day, maybe there's a lot of really cool information pamphlets you can give out, and word searches and coloring pages, and it would be a great idea to give these out to the schools, to hand out to the kids for Earth Day, and maybe they could color some stuff and give us their conservation ideas. We could celebrate the winners and maybe give them a gift basket with some water conservation gadgets. And the other thing I did was reach out to other municipalities about what they did, and Epcor gives out these. I know we can't give out all of this stuff, but they give out these little kits to all of their people, and you can get like a low flow shower head that has an aerator in it, so it doesn't affect your pressure, but you use less water.
That's the wrong word to use.
I said it doesn't affect your pressure. You just use less water. And there's you can get like a little landscaping card that tells you like what kind of grass if you have, how often, how much you have to water it. And they give out little aerators for your kitchen sink and plumber's tape, and little shower timers. I don't know where the timer went, but. And how to check for a leak. A lot of people don't know you can wake up your water meter. Oh yeah, a little aerator for your kitchen sinks. So I think we could easily put together, and maybe not this whole package, but something similar. Because a lot of people don't know you can wake up your water meter and it will tell you if you have a leak in your house. And then you can kind of search around. So we could talk to the kids in school and make them little water investigation people, and they can go around and help their parents look for leaks. And I just think it would be really, really fun for kids. And also the leak detection program. We can run reports every month, and it'll show anyone that has continuous use. So some houses it might only be 5 cubes a month, but some houses might be using 20 cubes a month too much. And then we can let them know, and then we're saving them money, and we're also saving water for the town. And Clayton told him some of my other ideas, but those are all the ideas I had. There's a lot of good ones.
I just have a question for you. How many cubes to a bathtub?
One? I don't know. Do you know?
That's 1,000 liters or 220 cubes. So it's
1,000 liters is 1 cube.
It's a standard bathtub.
Is 1 cube?
That
1
we use
cube?
for a calculation.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, you have a question?
No, I
We'll
just
try
say
to get you up.
is for every cube is 1,000 liters. Just trying to figure that out to what we used for bathtubs for our
Mini gallons, sorry.
Yeah, we operate in gallons here, so I don't know. No, just kidding. But there's a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's a great opportunity to engage youth council on this, and yeah, let's do it.
Okay. No, I don't have it. I can't remember if my presentation's over. I think we got most of it. So.
Councillor Taylor, I think you're
Through the chair to administration, I as well, I do love these ideas. And I think, Ms. Boroshko, you said that you were planning at the trade show to talk about water conservation. Was that something it was in the previous presentation? Was that something you,
Through the deputy mayor to Councillor Taylor, we were just gonna basically have the rain barrels and have some of that conservation stuff ready, just to, it's just something that obviously the drought committees and the staff are really passionate about. And it's was kind of a really good opportunity that we can take some of that roof leader water, put it in there, and people can start using that now for watering their gardens, watering their plants. So we thought it would just be a really good start without taking up a lot of space at the trade show, and just kind of show off some of the initiatives that the staff has and that the committee's made.
And I love that idea. That's honestly, you go to where people are. That's how you engage them, right? Sometimes when we put up stuff, and we do a great job with communication, but when you ask people to come in to us, when you see us, people are just less likely to do it. We go to them. Lots of people attend the trade show. I would even say look at Canada Day. Lots of people attend the events at Canada Day. We're there, and that'll be in the middle of summer. Then we're maybe looking at higher rates of water conservation and the initiatives you want to do it, and of course have tables set up for the kids to actually participate in the coloring ideas right on site, because they like doing that. I love the leak detection program. That could be a lot of people, again, I just learned that tonight in real time. That was a thing, that I could do that. And I would make use of that program. So thank you for your work you're doing. It's great.
Councillor Chechka.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration. I think these are great ideas. Absolutely fantastic. Our previous engineer said it's a lot cheaper to conserve water than it is to get new water. So this is great news, right? If we can save some water. My question is regarding the utility bills. So I wonder what an average household uses for water. A 4-person household, or maybe square footage. I don't know what the best way to figure that out is, but if you know that you use way more water than someone else, then maybe that's like, oh, maybe I should do something different, or that you have a leak or something like that, right? So I don't know, is there any way that we can do kind of a comparison on our utility bills somehow, that, or even a note that I don't know what data you guys have, if a 2,000 square foot house uses an average of this much water, or I don't know. I'm not sure what data you have that make it, that you can transfer, residents use an average of this many, cubic meters a month, and businesses kind of use this much, and are you over, above, or below the average, and get people thinking about how they compare to others as far as water usage goes.
I can take a stab at that one. Sounds like a fun question. Through the deputy mayor to Councillor Chachka. Edson residents, based on the studies that we've had done, are below the per capita average. So it's right around, I think, that 240. Most residents per person per day uses about 147 liters, which sounds like quite a bit, but obviously every time you flush the toilet or have a shower, bath, any type of stuff, that's kind of what the average is. And then it all depends. We do have a few people that know that they use lots of water, that just like to water their lawns or leave it, don't really worry about it. Other people are really conscious kind of thing. But yeah, and that way we are a little bit below the national average. And I'm sure we could kind of figure out, we kind of do keep track of our commercial and residential in kind of a spreadsheet. So I'm sure that's something that that Ms. Williams could probably figure out fairly easy and work with that program, or at least educate the people and get it out there.
So going through that, Edson, by example, we have smaller bathtubs than the rest of Alberta then. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, through the chair to administration. So if you've been in Edson long enough, you would know that we did a program very similar to this, I want to say late 80s, early 90s. And we had homeowner kits. You could come to the town Edson office, and it had a device to go in your toilet so it wouldn't flush as long. And it had all those fancy attachments. And to be honest, it was with very mixed reviews. And I know in our household at the time we partaked, and then we removed, because if your devices aren't designed for it, it sometimes hampers it. So hopefully the technology has improved since the late 80s and early 90s. But what I do like is the teaching them how to wake up their meter, and teaching about the leaky toilets, because I don't think people realize how much water it uses to a leaky toilet. And I don't remember who did it. It might have even been us as a town, but we had a little card, it was a plastic card, and it had different size holes in it to tell you how much volume you could put underneath your leaky faucet and say how much water you're going to use in the course of a year. And it was plastic, so you could actually put under your water to see the stream of flow. And those were one of those education pieces that easily is put in our utility bills. That it might even been us, I don't know, but I have one at home.
It
But
just has our old logo on it.
Yeah, and then be able to check your meter. Like, I won't know how to wake up my meter. I have to go down and look and see if things are moving or not. But those are the kind of things I think are great. And whatever you do, don't go into the toilet flushing devices, because those things people don't like. But yeah, I do like the ideas of the conservation.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we're gonna try to get you up.
How do you wake up your meter?
Flashlight or your telephone. Oh, sorry. Through Deputy Mayor to Mr. Mayor. Basically, you can use a flashlight. There's a little flashlight icon actually on your meter in a little hole, and all you just take your phone or a flashlight, and it'll just wake up your meter. If there's a little water drop onto it, it means that there's a continuous leak, which means that it wakes up every 15 minutes. If every 15 minutes that it wakes itself up, it detects that there's flow. It's thinking that there's a leak. Now, that said, I am looking into a program. When we first did the meter program, which I know you're a big supporter of. Sorry, I had to add that in there. We did look into the technology. They do have towers that we can put up. It is fairly costly. That is something that we can look into for future projects. And what that would basically allow us to do would be able to take meter reads every single day. With that program, there is a technology out there now where people can sign up and they can actually get email notifications if there continuously leaks, that kind of stuff. But it is a significant cost of infrastructure, meaning you need the towers to be able to read constantly, kind of thing, and then that would just eliminate the one-day meter reading. But there is technology that comes out there that just comes at a cost that we can look at if it's something that administration wants, or council, wants us to look into for the future.
Okay, Councillor Taylor, you're up.
Yeah, through the mayor, through the deputy mayor to administration, and spinning off of Councillor Chash's comments about finding the average, what should be an appropriate average or appropriate amount of water for the size of the home, and we're beneath the national average, and perhaps that has to do that we have a shorter summer and we don't get out and use a lot of outdoor water as compared to like Vancouver and Victoria. But it'd be still interesting to see, and I would say it's still interesting to see what would be the Edson average, like for, again, a house size of like 2,000 square feet or whatever it is, and what it would be. And then it kind of gets, again, people just internally thinking about, oh, maybe we do use too much water, or just saying like, yeah, you know what, we have 4 kids and the washing machine has to go. Like, we're constantly doing that. Like, that's just a reality. But if you're, 2 people in a house and you're above the average, okay, maybe it raises some questions. How can you change that? So anyways, it was a neat idea, and still loving all the ideas. So thank you.
No, I think, Mr. Deputy Mayor, just to recap, so I think what we've heard is that we'll do what we can for conservation efforts and ideas, and we'll continue to implement and bring those forward. And operationally, we'll just sort of monitor. And as mentioned in the Envising report, they recommended we continue to monitor through our monitoring wells. And if things are changing, obviously we'll come back and have some other discussions about operational stuff. But yeah, we're happy to hear the feedback from council. Thank you.
Councillor Bevan.
Just going back to your hydrant flushing, there was a town or a city just east of us that was doing it last year with hydrant flushing, and they were collecting off of their hydrants and then they were using it to either water the flowers or do whatever, and that wash the roads and that. The other question is, when you say you're street sweeping here, is that counting our truck that goes out also, that cleans all the roads off, and then our street sweeper comes behind them and picks everything up? Is that taking into effect the guy going out?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I'm not sure. So there's an additional truck going behind the sweeper?
The water truck.
Oh, the water truck. Yeah, no, sorry, that probably wasn't included. Yeah.
In the non-curb areas.
Okay, yeah. No, we probably didn't account for that, so that was a good catch. So we'll have to make sure we're thinking about that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Chechka, I believe you're up next.
Thanks. So through the chair to administration, just an idea, and I'm not sure how busy you have the trade show already, filled up with stuff. Is maybe like some kind of information gathering from the residents, like a democracy board where they can put a sticker on like what water conservation methods are you already doing, and if there was a drought or some measures, what would you be interested in taking? So that way we're not putting out a program that the fewest people are interested in doing, and maybe kind of meeting people at if they're more interested in a shower head over a whatever, some other gizmo, I don't know what, it might just get a feel from the residents what maybe they're interested in. I don't know. It's a good way to engage, and then maybe they're thinking about it. So then when they see more notices, they're, things just continue, right? So just an idea.
You respond, or Councillor Taylor, you're up.
Yeah, and through the deputy mayor to CO Beveridge, really. So you're going to look at the information on the spray park and the hours and usage and things like that. And obviously, I would like, again, to see that. And based on what we see, there may be further suggestions about reducing some times, again, where it's not heavily used, right? Again, early morning, late at night. And again, just changing the operational hours, just saying we're not seeing a lot of usage, but we're not seeing a lot of kids playing in there, but we're seeing, water usage and kids just not enjoying it, right? I'd be interested to see those stats and to make further decisions there. So that's it.
Okay, I think we talked from having water stop to water drought, so I think we're done with water, and we will move on unless someone else has any more questions. Thank you. Okay, I think we're done with all that. So does anyone in the audience have questions? Or Steve's not here, so Giles, anyone online? Any questions from the audience? No? Okay, if that's the case, then we have to vote to go into camera, correct? So, Mr. Mayor, go ahead. If we can get you, Councillor Chechka, motion for adjournment.
I so move that the meeting be adjourned.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.